So one thing I wanted to point out is if you have fabric, like I do, fabric scraps, that was purchased to make something for your pet or your friend's pet or your siblings or whatever, or even if you are one of the fortunate few in my world who gets to create and go to a like a farmer's market and have a booth, and you want to make some things. These scraps of fabric are so cute to do little tote bags with. Even if you don't have enough to make a full tote bag, and let me kind of give you a quick overview of what I'm referring to here. Let's just say we have this little piece right here, and we want to make a bag for someone who loves cats. So we can kind of fussy cut a little section of our fabric. Let's just say we're going to fussy cut this right here. And we'll just take this little bitty kitty off, and we're going to do that right there. So we have these two kitties. We might not need this flower. Okay. So there's a funny little weird shape, right? You take a piece of fusible interfacing, or you just take a piece of fabric. And my goodness, apparently we all have just oodles and oodles of fabric. So I'm going to use a piece of this pink seersucker fabric. Alright. There we go. So that'll fit. Alright, so stitch the piece of kitty fabric down on just all the way around. You don't even have to be too specific. Just want to make sure that all parts of the kitties that you've cut out are on the pink fabric. So, alright, now cut off, just cut around, leaving yourself a little bit of fabric all the way around where you stitched, like so. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to take this piece of fabric, and if this were fusible interfacing, I would have put the fusible side on the inside, but I'm just going to have to use a glue stick. So I'm going to pull this apart like so, just like this. I only want my backing fabric in my hand. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut like so, and then I am going to pull it the opposite direction, and right across where I just cut that, I'm going to cut again so that I have an opening right here that I can open like so, and I'm going to turn this kitty to the outside. I do want to trim, or excuse me, I want to clip these curves just a wee bit like so. We won't do that a whole bunch, but if you have curves that go to the inside, clip pretty well, clip a bunch. And then if you have curves that go to the outside, make sure you at least do 2 or 3 of those. Okay? Then turn your lining on the back. Sorry, I'm sure I'm off camera for a lot of that, but we're just turning it, and we're going to take a point turner, gently poke out the kitty cat's tail right here. He looks like a Maine Coon kitty. I think a Maine Coon is the largest domestic kitty cat out there, but I can't say that for sure. Okay, and then kind of round off, you know, the edges on the inside like so. Right, so you have this little applique, and what we can do, because we're going to pretend like we just don't have a whole lot of kitty cat fabric, but we want to give this to a person in our lives that loves cats. So we have a red and white, lovely, heavy ticking fabric that we can now embellish by doing a blanket stitch around these little kitties right on our market bag. It can become their kitty travel bag, it can become a going to the pet store bag, going on a walk with our favorite animal bag. It can become our own bag that we use for ourselves if we don't have a kitty and we wish we did, but we live in a house or an apartment that won't allow it. Well, we could have these kitties. We could put kitties and dogs and birds. We could have cows and goats and sheep and ducks and chickens. We could just completely embellish this fabric, which is quite farmhouse, by the way. And to do this little bit of applique, I'll go ahead and show you how that looks. I am going to use this fabric as a market bag, so I want to be careful. And I did wash it. This right here is the only spot that got really snarly, just right in this corner right here. It was kind of odd, but that's all right. Okay, so for me, the best, let's see, I'm looking to see the best layout. I think it should be fairly medium. I would prefer to have the stripes going up and down. Unfortunately for me, that's not going to work out. So I'm going to have to do it, but that's fine actually. That is absolutely fine. So let's cut this right here. For me, this is one of the more fun things about just sewing, just creating something. You don't have to follow a pattern. You don't have somebody saying, but you can't do it that way. If you do it that way, it'll be wrong. You can do this. This is like painting. You can do anything you want. And my goodness, if somebody walked up to you and said, oh, you didn't do that right, well, I think they have other issues. Okay. All right, so here is the fabric that I'm going to use. The thing is, this time I'm not going to put the handle, I'm not going to stitch it together until I decide how I want the handles to go. So I'm going to take this kitty cat and I want to kind of look at the bottom. Let's pretend that this is the bottom right here. So that would be the full length of the bag. I could put the kitties right there. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is press this flat. The second thing I'm going to do is grab my Elmer's glue stick. And so I'm going to go grab that and I'll be right back. Perfect. Alright, so I am going to switch out my thread. I have blue in my sewing machine, but I can do that while I wait for the glue to dry. So I've ironed the kitties flat. I did use starch. Now I'm going to take my Elmer's glue stick, and it's just regular school glue, all-purpose glue stick. And I'm going to run around the outer edges. Now there are glues that you can buy for sewing. I know there is one that many quilters like. I don't know the brand. I don't know anything about it. I've just seen other videos where they've used it. So if you Google it, you'll probably be able to find it. But I've got Elmer's glue on the back of this glue stick. And I'm just going to kind of decide, do I want it off to the side, down at the bottom? I think I kind of want it right here. I like the way that looks. And I'm going to press it down with my hand. You can press it with an iron, but I've never really noticed if that makes a big difference or not. Alright, so get this out of the way. And it will just sit there and kind of dry, the glue. And get this. And I think I'll use a pink because I almost tried to pick it off. I have pink peeking through since I used a pink seersucker. I need to lift my presser foot to turn. I'll just lift a little and turn. If your machine has a knee lift, where you just have that bar that comes out and down in front of your sewing machine, use your knee lift and lift up your presser foot and turn your fabric. I opted to not have the knee lift option on my sewing machine. To be honest, I know myself, I'd be hitting it all the time with my legs, so there's really a lot of good reasons for me not to have one. There we have our little kitty applique, patch, whatever you want to call it, right on the front of this little farmhouse bag. And we could do more, you know, as much or as little as you want. You can embellish it with ribbon. I think that's really cute. Let's see what other kitties we have that we could use. And I'm just looking for fabric that I can, use as my helper turner fabric. Okay, that's good. I don't need that much. And remember, with this step, we gotta go back to the beginning with just a straight stitch. And with this stitch, with this step, we are just going to go all the way around. Now there is one little tip that I can tell you. If you find it difficult to, once you've got this stitched to this, to get that little opening cut, do it now. Just take your fabric, and if you're using interfacing, just cut that little slit like that, and then take and do like so, like that. Open it up. It's already cut. Lay the cat down and stitch around it, and then you don't have to worry about cutting that little opening in the back. The main thing you want to do is just make sure that you don't have too much fabric in your seam allowances. So it's important that you do clip these down to a manageable and easy little 1/4 inch seam allowance. And if you can cut it shorter than that, feel free. You are going to be attaching it with, like I just did with that blanket stitch, so even if there's like a little spot where, you know, it's not quite perfect, it's really hard to see that with all that extra stitching going on. So keep that in mind as well. And then look, tra-la-la, I already have that opening cut, and I can just turn this as easy as pie. I don't risk cutting my, as I call it, glamour fabric. Everything is just set like it's supposed to be. And here is Mistopheles. Okay, so I'm gonna push out all the corners. I will need to go press. He's very cute. Okay, I'm gonna go give him a good press, and we'll stitch him down, maybe on the other side, or no, I think he'll be on the same side. That's really cute. I like that there. Okay, what did I do with my glue? Did I put it back in my, yep. Put it back in my hazel bag. Alright. And if you don't have Elmer's glue or a glue stick, you can just pin these to the front of your, you know, down on your fabric. The reason I like to use the glue is I don't like being stabbed, and if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that for some strange reason, I tend to get stabbed by pins all the time. It's just crazy. I apologize. I have neighborhood lawn people, not me, but neighborhood lawn people are out working today, I guess because it's going to be so hot this weekend, tomorrow and Friday and this weekend. Might be why they're doing it now. Okay, now back to my blanket stitch, and I want the needle to go down into the fabric. That ensures that my stitches aren't going to end up way out in the middle of the fabric and then just barely catching the edge of my little patch. I want the stitches in the patch and barely in the edge of my fabric. And you can adjust that if you don't like it that way, or if you want it evenly distributed, however you want to do it. But if I put my needle down into the fabric first, like so, then I'm not going to have stitches way out in left field, or in this case, right field. Look what I did. Oh my goodness, right from the beginning. Which, I mean, I'd need to remove all of the stitches anyway, because when you do something like this, with a stitch like this, you don't want to start and stop. So I would have to remove all of these anyway. So, and what happened is I caught the bottom edge of my fabric. I was being very careless and just wasn't thinking about what I was doing. So I'm just going to take my seam ripper and cut as many of these threads on the front as I can. It's too hard for me on the back. The thread's too light and I cannot see, so It's just easier if I do this on the front where I can actually see the color of the thread. We're getting right at the very end of the snarl. So close. And part of it is the glue stick is holding the little patch to the fabric, so it kind of feels funny. But if you wondered if it worked, yes, indeed it does. And pull the little bits and pieces of thread away from your project. You don't want to sew on top of those, because once you sew back on it, you won't get those out. They'll be in there for now until the end of days. Okay, yay! This time I'm going to make sure that my fabric is absolutely perfectly placed. There we go. Nothing is underneath the needle that isn't supposed to be. And I'll drop my foot and put my needle right into the fabric. So get this sorted out across the top, even, and stitch a straight stitch. Okay, so we have this stitched. That's quite a mess. That's what happens when your bobbin thread is looping right there. Alright. So now I'm just going to open up the bottom. I want to do a boxed bottom. I'm just going to fold it over like this, making a triangle. Keep that point flat like that. You can open that out if you want and flatten it like so. I'm going to use the seam guide over here. And there's our boxed bottom. Pretty cool. Alright. So far so good. All we gotta do is add a handle and hem the top. Alright, so this time I have my handles turned right sides together, and I'm just going to stitch right sides together, and I'll have to turn them, you know, right side out. So, well, first of all, one thing I need to point out that, yeah, I want them this long. So what I'm going to do is fold this like so. I'm going to double check and make sure that I have, yes, okay. So how do we turn something like this to the proper way out? There are so many ways that you can do it. You can just push and pull and struggle, however that works for you. You can use a tube and push method. You can use a big safety pin, which is the method that I'm going to use. I'm just going to attach it like this, and then I'm going to turn it like so, and just do this. Once you get the pin to the other side, then you're all in the clear. Alright, so I'm going to attach the pin to the ribbon like so and drop it into the fabric without attaching the ribbon to anything. As you can see, I'm just going to pull it like so. Just stitch it right across that bottom edge right there. I find the pin, there it is, right there. And then see, you can just pull once you get it out like so, and it'll just pull over on top of itself. Okay, so the way this works is you've got this piece of strong ribbon attached to one end by sewing. I do not recommend using a pin, because promise me, voice of experience, you will get this thing pulled most of the way through and the pin will come undone, and that is not what you want. So just gently, persuasively pull until you see the end with the stitched ribbon like this, and then you can just, you know, swoosh it down. Now, normally, to be completely honest, it works like a charm with most fabrics. This fabric is heavy, so it's not going to be quite as, you know, easy and as delightful. Now, you do lose a little bit of your ribbon because I'm not going to spend time undoing those stitches, and that probably won't show anyway. If you want to undo the stitches, you can. For the most part, the ribbon will just kind of fray off once you've trimmed it and clipped it and, you know, pulled on it and all that kind of stuff. I can't even tell that other than this little tiny bit of fuzz, and now that's gone, so I have no indication that there was a piece of ribbon there. This little thread right here, clippity clip, and done. Now I have an afternoon thing that I have got to go take care of. So I've got my 2 straps made for the bag. I've got the bag clipped, ready to be hemmed. And so it will be hemmed, and then the straps will be attached. Alright, so I have returned and I've pressed the straps down flat. The best way to do that with a heavy fabric like this ticking is to use a starch. Just spray them with starch and then they're easy to roll out, get that on the edge, that seam on the edge, and it just works that much better. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch across here and then just kind of stitch to make them a little bit more, I don't know, maker made, if you know what I mean by that. It's just, they just feel kind of, I don't know, they just feel like a tube. So I kind of want to stitch. So that's what I'm going to do. My daughters and I love little shabby chic things like this. Okay guys, so my plan, I'm about to run out of time for the evening, so that's why I'm kind of rushing this. But you remember this little one that we made 4 hours ago? For me, 4 hours ago. For you, 2 seconds ago. I'm going to take this little bunch of fabric that I made into a tied flower bow, and I'm going to put it like right there. But I'm going to attach it in such a way that it can be detached if it needs to be detached. So I'm not sewing it. I have these pins that were purchased as part of a giant pack, and I'm going to pick, I think this one, because it's small, it has little tiny details, and the little teeny tiny, this almost looks like a 7-berry fabric, kind of goes with it. So I am going to just simply apply the pin, and there. And then we'll just attach and fix. Okay, now who would not want to carry this to the market? I mean, that is just the cutest thing. So this one is going to one daughter, and the other one, when it's complete, will be going to the other daughter. Alright, so day 2, by the way. And while I love the way this looks, it's not staying up on the, it's wanting to flop over. So I think I'm going to try it this way. The top of the pin has the clasp, and I think I want to try it on a little bit more sturdy part of this little bag. So where the handle goes, there's a little bit more fabric, and we're going to see if that doesn't, oh, that's definitely so much better. See, it's not, it doesn't want to fall over right there. So that is perfect for this one. Of the ticking fabric. I think that really makes it look like a market bag while still being kind of cute and fresh and ready to go. And you could change these little embellishments out for the seasons. So for spring and summer you could have these, and then for the fall and winter you could have all sorts of different little flowers. Like I've got this cute little pumpkin fabric with a little chickadee. You could make it personal with the little cowboys. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it very much. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not already subscribed, please consider doing so. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.